My friends, God bless you. I appreciate you for being here. And I'm going to go live today. I am live right now to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy's interview with me. A lot of people said, what's your reaction to it? Did you change your mind? What did you think? How did you think it went? So I'm just going to give a brief, I would say, or not so brief, we'll see how long it lasts, summary of how I felt it went. Let me know how you think. And then I'm going to talk about some really crazy media smears that came right after it that had nothing to do with the interview and barely even talked about the interview. So interesting stuff. Dream Rare podcast starts now. It's the Dream Rare podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. What's going on, everybody? I'm here. I got my coffee. Actually, it's an Americano. I lied. Fake news. But I wanted to just go over how I thought the interview went, some things that you may or may not have known. And a lot of people were wondering, did I change my opinion, etc. So I want to go over each part of the questions that I asked and kind of the overview. But first, I do want to say this and be very clear. I really respect him and his team for reaching out to me and being willing to do this interview. It's very, very brave. They didn't have to do it. They knew I wasn't a fan of his per se. They knew that I was going to be critical. They knew it wasn't going to be a layup. So overall, I want to start with a positive thing and a grateful thing. I am, extremely grateful that they were even willing to do it and give me a chance to do a real interview with a presidential candidate. So I'm glad that they allowed it to even happen. A lot of people were saying that they wish it was longer. So do I, but they could have given me 5 minutes or 0 minutes. So I appreciate what was supposed to be 30 minutes. And to those, I want to play a clip real quick and go over every part of the interview. But to those who said in the comment section, and let me be clear, I don't care if everybody agrees. I don't expect everybody to like me or think that I did a good job, although it seems like most people did. The reason I rushed, a lot of comments were saying, well, Anomaly was rushing. He wasn't listening. Guys, I had like less than 20 minutes to conduct an interview that I really wanted to get through. And I gave them the link at the right time. They took a long time to get ready. So by the time we started the interview, it was already 5 to 6 minutes past the time that I had slotted. And they said, hey, let's cut it off right at 10 o'clock, which meant I had less than 24, 23. Once the intro, 22 minutes. We talked about the first I gave them a long time to kind of talk in circles and talk about the first question. And by the time we were done with the first question, I had less than 10 minutes. So I had a choice in my head. Do I talk to Vivek Ramaswamy about 2 questions and not get to my best questions? Or do I speed through the interview and try to get through all my questions? That's why I was rushing. That's why I wasn't able to counter as much as I would have liked to, or rather converse. I wouldn't even say counter. There's a lot I would have liked to say, but you have to understand, after he kind of had his first question, I only had 5 to 10 minutes. So I had to rush through. I would have loved to have an hour and a half. I would have loved to talk about policy. I would have loved to agree with a lot of stuff that he said. But unfortunately, those were the decisions I had. And I'm extremely pleased with how it came out. I'm with the time slot I was given, with how short it was supposed to be cut. Trust me, they wanted to cut it off even like 10 minutes shorter than I did. I had to like rush through it because they were trying to cut me short. So nothing wrong with that. I understand that they're a busy team. That's where I'm coming from. That's just the truth of what happened. I want to play this clip real quick because I think it pretty much sums up how I feel. I don't hate Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't hate Donald Trump. You have to understand that I personally don't believe that those two, and this is how I feel, and we'll go through all the questions. I don't believe that they learned recently about all this stuff that I knew that they didn't. I just think that Donald Trump was a politician at the time, and he was doing what politicians do. And I think Vivek was a pharmaceutical CEO. And I have, things that I didn't even get to here, like this, and I'm not trying to be a dick. I mean, I'm just trying to show proof. This is him in 2020. He was doing what pharmaceutical CEOs do, trying to cash out on COVID-19 drugs and trying to get his hand in the massive pot that was the COVID-19 pandemic cash cow. So I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not saying that he might not be a great Republican candidate. I don't care if you like him or not. But I don't believe that he just learned all this stuff. I think he didn't care because he was doing what pharmaceutical CEOs do, which is that, not, accurately point out when the data is wrong. So let me just play this clip. I think it was probably my favorite clip of the interview, and it really sums up how I feel in general. So let's play it and then move forward.
Those are areas where I was on the bleeding edge. I'll give credit to people like you who were ahead on spotting the risks of the COVID policies on vaccines in particular.
Yeah.
Most importantly, we just got to be right to move it forward, though.
I didn't even finish college. I mean, I'm not stupid. I dropped out to pursue my career, but in general, I believe it was a third grade math equation, a lot of this stuff. So why do you think I was able to figure it out, but not you, not Trump? I believe it was because at the time you were working in the biotech pharmaceutical industry. So that's what you were doing. You were focused on sucking up money, advancing your company. You weren't really concerned with what we were dealing with or the truth about it. Because if I can do it with a calculator, I think you could have done it or Trump could have done it. But Trump hired Alex Azar, a pharmacy executive lobbyist. Trump took $1 million from Pfizer. Trump had meetings with Bill Gates in 2018 where Bill Gates told him about modernizing flu vaccines. And in 2019, before the pandemic, Trump passed an executive order for that. So I don't think that I'm so smart that I just had the foresight. I think that I actually care. And Trump was being a politician that I believe sold out to Big Pharma. And I think you were working with Big Pharma. So I don't think I had insight. I just think you care now because you're running for president.
No, I mean, I think everybody wears their different hats and has their perspectives of what.
So that kind of sums up how I feel about Trump, him, etc. I don't hate them. Politicians are going to politic. Pharmaceutical CEOs are going to pharmaceutical. I understand that. But the difference between me and a lot of people is they say like, okay, he just learned now. Like, everybody makes mistakes. Of course, I'm not trying to hold him to his past mistakes. I'm not trying to hold like, wow, you were a Democrat. Even people ask me, they're like, what about that Al Sharpton clip? I mean, it's understandable to be a Democrat when you're 19 years old or 20 years old. I'm not going to grill him on that. I mean, it's worth a question, but I don't see that as such a terrible thing that he evolved. There's nothing wrong with evolving, right? I'm not saying he can't change and evolve. The whole part of my interview was to see, did you really evolve or are you just saying you evolved? Because to me, I don't think that I had some sort of special skill in 2020 to see through it. I wish I felt that way about myself and I could tell you I'm a prophet and I could pretend like I'm X22 reporter or whatever and tell you that whatever. But I'm just being honest. It's like, I don't think I had special skill or intelligence that Vivek and Trump didn't have. I just think I cared. And his job at the time was a pharmaceutical CEO. So I don't buy this, oh, I just figured it out now. Well, because you're running for a Republican candidate, I think now it's convenient to know that stuff because if you don't know that stuff, people won't like you. That's just my interpretation of it. However, in the field, I want to start with one more compliment before I get into how I really feel and all the media smears. I respect and appreciate his team. We'll get into that later. I'm glad he came on the show. I think he's very smart and talented. And to be honest, I think Republican politics is a clown show. I think despite what people think, I think of Vivek, he can easily be a standout. I mean, look at Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz looks like a creature that you find at like I'm saying a zombie apocalypse movie, and somehow he's like a rock star in the Republican movement. If Ted Cruz can be cool and Jim Jordan can be cool, Vivek will have no problem being one of the best Republicans in the party. I mean, look at all these other losers that are out here just like, making a name for themselves. So I have no doubt he'll be successful in politics, and I'm not trying to stop him. With that being said, I just wanted to get to the point of like, what do you really believe? And are you going to follow through on it? Or is this just like you figured out what conservatives want to hear and you're saying it? Because that's where I stand. So let me get through to all the questions and I'll tell you what I think of like the responses. And keep in mind, for those who just started, I just want to repeat this real quick. I didn't have the option of debating in circles for 10 minutes around every topic. I would have loved to say more. I would have loved to inject what I think, and I tried to do it as much as I could. But you have to understand, by the time the first question was done, I had like less than 10 minutes to get through 8 questions. So either I'm going to talk in circles about his book and the Mike Pence Trump thing that I don't even care that much about, or I got to the real questions that I really wanted to ask, which is why I rushed and they tried to cut me off earlier because they had a specific time frame that we went over, but I just kept kind of muscling through because I wanted to get through my questions. So for those who say I was rushed and I wasn't listening, I didn't have the option to not rush. I didn't have the option to not listen. Not blaming his team for that. It's not their fault. They didn't have to give me a single second, but that's why that happened. If I had an hour and a half, I would have easily like calmed down a little bit and gave more leeway to just discuss it, but I didn't have that luxury. With that being said, I want to get to the first question. I referenced the book Nation of Victims, which is a book that he wrote in 2022, or it was published in 2022. And I watched what he said about it because he did an interview with Candace Owens and DC Drano. And I watched that full interview because I heard that they grilled him on it. And when DC Drano quoted there's a an entire chapter that basically the entire chapter's comparing Trump to Stacey Abrams. Like he says the same thing. He said, I'm talking about Stacey Abrams. He says the same paragraph. I'm talking about Donald Trump. And the entire paragraph is saying Stacey Abrams is a Democrat sore loser. Trump is a Republican sore loser. And Trump's claims of voter fraud are just as ridiculous as Stacey Abrams. That's what the chapter said. I'm paraphrasing, but I read the whole chapter. It wasn't out of context. It wasn't just satire. It wasn't airlifted. And when I watched the interview with Candace and Drano, he basically kind of caught them slipping where he said, oh, that was airlifted, acting like it was so far out of context that, you know, they were totally wrong about what he said. And then Candace was like, oh, that makes sense. And then, you know, he said it was satirical at one point. And that's Vivek in that interview basically trying to tell the audience of Candace, oh, that's satire, that's airlifted. Like, don't, you know, I didn't say that. So then the audience, since nobody pushed back, was like, oh, that was satire, that was airlifted. So that's why I started with that question, because he said, did you read the book? Did you read the chapter? And I said, yeah, I actually bought it on Kindle. I read the entire chapter. I have more quotes from the chapter. So he couldn't get that angle on me and convince my audience that it was satirical and airlifted, because it wasn't. I don't want to take him out of context. I'm not trying to smear his character in any sort of way, but that's what the chapter is about. It was comparing Trump to Stacey Abrams and saying voter fraud, the claims that Trump had were ridiculous and he shouldn't have done it. And Mike Pence is respectable because he made the right decision. And here's the point that I'm trying to make that people don't understand. I don't care that he said that, because in a weird way, I know Trump supporters don't want to hear this and people that really like Trump, but I kind of agree with him in his book a little bit. Not everything. I wouldn't have wrote that, but I do kind of agree with some things he said, that the Republican Party plays the victim. That's true. That Trump didn't have good leadership. That's true. Like, I agree with a lot of what he said in his book, but when you listen to him on Candace and DC Drano, he was saying he believes in voter or like election fraud and ballot fraud now. So that was the question for those who are wondering why I cared. You know, I'm just wondering, like, are you this? Are you this? Or are you one of these people that just says what everyone wants to hear? Because whether you're this or this, I want to know as a voter. I want to know as somebody that thinks that you're going to have a high level position eventually in the party. I think he's highly intelligent. He's young. I don't see why he won't rise to the ranks of the Republican Party. So as someone who is in this movement to some extent and votes this way, are you the guy that wrote in the book that Mike Pence is respectable, made the right decision, and you don't believe in voter fraud? Or are you the guy that on Candace's show said that you do now believe in election and ballot fraud? And also, I asked him, you know, I don't know how it came out, but I asked him, like, why were you trying to convince Candace's audience that it's satire and airlifted? Like, I don't see the airlifting. I mean, yes, he only read a paragraph, but if you read it in context, it's not like the whole paragraph is like, oh, you know, I'm just joking about like Trump. And no, you're not, though. I read the chapter. I'm not mad at the chapter. The chapter's fine, in my opinion. It's just you're trying to act like it never happened. So that's when you kind of get the runaround. And, you know, long story short, this is my question before I move on to the second one. Maybe he's changed. Maybe he will be a populist and learn and listen and do a great job governing. Of course, I hope he does. But my thought was, like, you know, he said that he now does believe in some sort of ballot fraud, but not that it changed the election. He hasn't seen evidence of that, which is a fair answer. I'm not mad at that. I'm not like a sycophant, but it's like, so you ran for, this is, you know, everybody learns and evolves, but you ran as a Republican candidate writing that Trump was a sore loser. And now you've learned on the campaign trail that you have been convinced that ballot and election fraud might have taken place in a different form than maybe you previously thought, but you still think, like, so why? I don't know. You ran not knowing that. Now you know. It's like, you know, that's the part that I'm trying to figure out as a voter. Like, in 2020, you were a pharmaceutical CEO. In 2021, you were a pharmaceutical CEO. Yes, you made some good statements, but it was a lot of like flippy floppy, generic, like, wow, like, you know, everybody eligible should get the vaccine, blah, blah, blah. Like, you said this, you know, you said that you think that mandates shouldn't happen and we should open the spread. But in that article, you said that you thought that masks probably did work, but, you know, you still wanted to expand the spread. Like, it's like he's like all over the place, where it's like he's saying just the perfect thing to like not go too far, where it's like, yeah, he's like, I don't think we should lock down. I think we should keep the spread going, but I do think that masks probably work. And it's like, do they though? You know what I'm saying? So long story short, that's the whole point of my interview. It's not coming from ego. It's not coming from malice. It's not coming from anger. It's like, we just got scammed by the government and the pharmaceutical industry. In my opinion, we just got scammed by the Republican and the Democratic Party. And one of my least favorite industries, and I'm not saying they do nothing good, but I think one of the most corrupt industries in America with some of the biggest lobbying power in America is big pharma, the pharmaceutical industry. So there's no way I'm just going to have a pharmaceutical CEO on my podcast and be like, oh, we're best friends. We're MAGA, 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 MAGA. Like, that's not what I'm going to do. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad guy, or it doesn't mean that he necessarily did wrong, but we just got scammed by big pharma. Donald Trump just caved to big pharma. Donald Trump just hired big pharma. Donald Trump just sold their shots. The Republican Party pathologically lied with the Democrats for a month and dug you in a hole. And now the leader of our party is going to be a pharmaceutical CEO who had, meh leadership through the pandemic and pops up in 2023 disagreeing with the book he wrote in 2022. Me personally, I'm not buying it. Someone said, who's your candidate? Wait till the end to hear what I want to say. But that's just, I don't think he's necessarily a bad guy. It's just like, I, as a voter, I'm trying to figure out in this interview and ask tough questions as quick as I possibly can because I don't have the time. It's like, are you this? Are you this? Did you really change? Or are you just saying you changed because you know that that's the path you need to lead? That was the point of the interview. I want to get to the second question. I asked about the Soros scholarship, not because I think that necessarily disqualifies you. And I made it very clear I was accurate. It wasn't George Soros. It was his brother, Paul Soros, Paul and Daisy Soros. He's often known as the invisible Soros, they call him in the media. And, he took not a loan, a scholarship from Paul and Daisy Soros, right? So my question about that angle, if people watched, it wasn't that, oh, you're horrible because you did that. You said that you were broke and you didn't have the money or you needed the money. I have the exact quotes. I read them in the interview. But, Fox reported that you made $2.2 million that year and $1 million every year prior for 3 years. So, like, were you really broke? It's not that you took it and that disqualifies you, but it's like you're telling people you needed the money, but it seems like you didn't need the money. So, like, if you didn't need the money and it's like, it's free money, why wouldn't I take it? I don't know who Soros is. That makes sense. I'm not necessarily, that's not like the greatest look as a presidential candidate, but I wouldn't really think that much of it, maybe, but it's like, if you're like, oh, I needed the money. And then it's like, did you? And it's like, maybe, yeah, no, it's like, it's just, to me, it just seems like that was my question about that. Was why, is that true or not? And then, like I said, I had a printout because on the Soros website, the Paul and Daisy Soros website, they were bragging about his large IPO that at the time I believe was Axovant. He has a lot of Vant companies. They even made one with Pfizer at a certain point. But it was Axovant, and it was Paul and Daisy Soros bragging that he was a Paul and Daisy Soros alumni, and that one of the other members, the key members of that Axovant, was also a Paul and Daisy Soros guy that found him on the Paul and Daisy Soros website. So this is my interpretation. When it really was like, when you're just a pharma guy, it's good to have a Soros or a Paul and Daisy Soros backing, because then you kind of get to network through that network. You get to meet people. You get to, get opportunities and meet other industry people that you wouldn't normally meet. And that happened I believe, with that company. And, that company that they were bragging about, as I spoke about later, the largest IPO in biotech history or modern history, I believe, it crashed. It went from $200 to like 35 cents because he bought a 4 times failed Alzheimer's drug that failed trials 4 times. He bought it from GlaxoSmithKline, basically ran around selling it, overselling it, I would say, or at least just hoping that it worked. He got a lot of investors. It was like a huge success in the stock market. And then it all crashed because the drug didn't work. And I understand he said that he didn't make money and he didn't sell the shares. But this is the part that I wish I would have had more time, and it's all good. Through his other companies, it's like Roivant, which stands for return on investment. I read ROIvant. He had Datavant. He had Axovant. He had Sinovant, which was a Chinese company. That's why he was in Beijing trying to do a Chinese arm of it. He had all these different branches. So the point that I was trying to make, and it's smart. I'm not mad at him. The guy made money, but in general, when that company fails, if Axovant fails, the people that get hurt are the people that believed in what you told them and the people that really invested in it. But if you have 10 different companies and a main company and a bunch of different shell companies in Bahamas and, and this one's working over in China, it's like that doesn't necessarily hurt you. Yes, it's not great that your drug failed, but when you branch out in 15 different ways, clearly he was able to rebound and make money. And that initial pushing that out there and getting that out in the press, I'm sure helped him with some future business endeavors. So as somebody that's journalistic, these are why I'm asking those questions about the Paul and Daisy Soros situation and about his company. A lot of people in the comments think he handled it very well. And I think that he's extremely brave for coming on the show. And I think it's insane that it takes a hip hop artist / YouTube news analyst that they're now viciously smearing in the media, because I got a big opportunity to ask a journalistic question that Tucker Carlson didn't ask, that no major media has ever asked. Like, no one's ever had a conversation with this guy. It's like, I'm not hating. He came from this pharmaceutical world and had one of the highest profile IPO, of all time. And it ended up, the stock collapsed and no one wants to ask about that story. It seems kind of crazy. It's not that long ago. So, that's what I was trying to get, was like an answer. And I did get an answer, and I appreciate him for that. So, I want to go to the third thing that I talked about, which was masks and his libertarian stance. So I made a video weeks ago, and other people started making videos. They noticed one of his tweets from 2020 where he was kind of like shaming conservatives for not wearing masks. Listen, I don't care if people evolve. I don't care if they change. Personally, I'm more impressed with people that saw through the pandemic, and I want leadership like that. But I don't care that he made a mistake. Someone is talking about listen, can you guys just listen real quick, and then I'll read some of the comments. I'm not saying he can't change. What people don't understand is when he says one thing, to me, it just doesn't match reality. That's the red flag. If he said, I was a pharmaceutical CEO in 2020. I didn't know better. I was surrounded by a bunch of maskies, and I didn't really think that much of it. I was never for mandates, but I was like pro-mask for a while. I would respect him and be like, that makes sense. You were a pharmaceutical CEO. You were surrounded by people like that, and you tweeted that, and now you did. I wouldn't hang that over his head. Listen to what I'm saying if you have even half a brain or your IQ's over 10, and you might come to the same conclusion as me. He made a video to defend himself a month ago on his Twitter, and he said that, that was just the libertarian in me. I wish I had the full clip that I could play it, but he was like, the reason that I was so, I was so pro-mask was because the government said they were against masks, and I'm just so libertarian. That's just the libertarian in me pushing back against what the government said. And it's like your libertarianness kicked in with the pro-mask thing. But when Fauci and the government was pushing masks for 3 months, it didn't flip your opinion. And then when the government collaborated with Big Pharma for a vaccine, you weren't like libertarian then. Your anti-governmentness wasn't popping out then. In fact, like I said, his company with Datavant, according to reports, did deals with the NIH, like literal government deals. And that's just like some sort of subsidiary of one of the major companies he was on. So it's like, I'm not buying the fact that he's so libertarian, he's anti-mask. Like, I don't think that's the truth. It's not that he made a mistake. It's just that doesn't sound real to me. If you believe that, I don't know. I have an Axovant IPO to sell you. If you believe that, I have an Operation Warp Speed COVID Comirnaty shot to save you, should sell you. It's like, I just don't buy that. That's the truth. I could lie to you because I like his team. He seems like a nice guy. I could lie to you and say that makes total sense to me, but it doesn't make sense. I think that that's just what people would want to hear. People wouldn't want to hear, I'm a pharmaceutical CEO who was just doing generic type stuff. Then it's like people want to hear, oh, he was so libertarian that he was pro-mask. That makes sense. It's like, it does. Not to me. And then, get through to a few other things. I guess I don't even think I got through every one of my questions, but I'll read a few comments. Long story short, I think he's a nice guy. I'm glad he came on the show. I appreciate his team. I'm very grateful that they gave me any time at all. They didn't have to do that. It was very brave to do that. Did it change my opinion of him? Not really at all. Not at all. I felt like with the first question, he talked in circles. With the second question, he talked in circles. He's a very great speaker. He's very convincing. He just doesn't convince me, and that's okay, because you don't have to convince me to win an election. You just have to convince enough people. And I think he can do that. I think he's talented enough to do that. If Donald Trump, the Operation Warp Speed vaccine salesman who hired the swamp and took a Bill Gates meeting in 2018 and did what he said essentially in 2019 through executive order, if Donald Trump can convince MAGA that he's some sort of savior figure that's coming here to save the movement, then I'm sure Vivek will be highly popular, because it seems like he's like a lot more, I would say he's a lot smoother than even Trump is in a lot of ways. So I'm in no way, shape, or form am I doubting the fact that he'll be successful in politics. In no way, shape, or form am I doubting the fact that he'll do well. My opinion hasn't really changed. I mean, I'm grateful he came on. I think I'm impressed that he wanted to, but yeah, no, nothing really changed for me. And I wish I would have had more time to more dissect it. And to the people that are upset in the comments, I mean, I don't really care, but what you don't understand is it has nothing to do with fame. It has nothing to do with attention. It has nothing to do with ego. Our entire I'm gonna repeat this again, and then I'll get to more positive comments or just any comments. And I want to get to the media smears after. Our entire country got absolutely bamboozled in 2020. The Republican Party came together with the Uniparty and printed trillions of dollars. They handed out UBI COVID Trump checks, which then imploded the economy that they're pathologically lying about. They won't even admit they did that. They're like, it's all Biden. Oh, yeah, not when you handed out COVID Trump checks. You think that didn't skew the monetary system? You know, they printed all the money. Trump became a vaccine socialist. He did an $18 billion scammy pharmaceutical deal with Big Pharma. Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson had no liability for side effects, injuries, and deaths from their little, whatever they want to call it, Comirnaty shot or whatever they're filing it as. Because Alex Azar, the HHS, the pharmacy lobbyist / executive that Donald Trump hired, declared an emergency, and that emergency shields them from liability under the PrEP Act. So we got absolutely bamboozled by the Democratic Party. We got absolutely bamboozled by the Republican Party. Trump either failed, got fooled, tricked us. I don't know what you want to call it, but that wasn't good. He funded a lot of this stuff. He ran around the country overselling the COVID vaccine for years. You know what I'm saying? So the last thing that I want personally, I want somebody that saw through that, because I don't think you're going to have success in foreign policy. I don't think you're going to have economic success, and I don't think you're going to have social success if you can't see through stuff like that. I don't think you're fit to lead the conservative movement, because that means you'll get fooled by socialism, communism, and pharmaceutical scams. And how are you going to keep your economy open when you're on TV with Fauci saying 15 days to slow the spread needs to be extended? So for those who think that I'm doing this for some sort of alternative reason, how do you not understand, as an American citizen who lived through the socialist, communist, lockdown pharmaceutical scam, that I ask actual journalistic questions? I'm probably the first one and gave the best interview to Vivek. How do you not see why every Republican shouldn't be doing this to every candidate, including Trump, but especially a pharmaceutical CEO who, popped out of nowhere 8 months ago? Of course you should be skeptical, and of course you should ask these questions, but this is why America gets scammed all the time, in my opinion. And it's not even Vivek's fault. It's just how politics works. You want a hero. You want a Marvel character. You want a sports team. So you get a sports team. Here's sports ball. Sports ball, everybody. It's Gore versus Bush. Sports ball. Which sports ball do you want? Oh, I'm team red. I'm team blue. Herder. We got to go fight the terrorists and Muslim, blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, wait, we're trillions of dollars. What happened? Why are the banks? Oh my gosh, the banks are now, getting bailed out. What the heck? The economy is going down. Oh man, George Bush really scammed us. We weren't even really doing what he said we were going to do. We need a new guy, a smooth talking guy that's half black, that's just totally new and different. Oh, Obama. Oh yeah, Obama's going to save us. He's going to fix everything. 8 years later. Oh no, my healthcare is all screwed up. Darn, I need an outsider. I need a billionaire elite who was friends with Hillary Clinton a few months ago that's going to save us. Oh, we're going to get saved by the sports ball team red now. Oh, 3 years is going well. Oh, wait, no, now Trump's a vaccine salesman who's printing trillions of dollars, but it's not his fault. Oh, now it's Biden. Now it's Trump again. It's like people look at politics like it's a sports ball fantasy movie where Trump's either the hero or the villain, or Vivek's either the hero or the villain. And I want to say they're neither. And the people asking me when I'm running, what you don't understand is if I ran, I couldn't change it either. If you look at me like a hero and I run for politics and you think I'm Batman and I don't do what I say I'm going to do because I can't do what I say I'm going to do, and you just keep thinking it's Batman versus Robin, you're going to keep getting scammed. The American people need to keep their eyes on the prize, whether it's Trump, whether it's Vivek. It shouldn't be looked down upon to ask serious questions and understand how politics works. So I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter if RFK, Vivek, or Trump or DeSantis wins, because the same thing's going to happen, because the same people are controlling it, and people haven't figured it out yet because they want to believe that the new sports ball character's the real one this time. And I'm not saying they're bad people. It's just how the system works. So until the American people figure that out, you're just going to get scammed on lube. So the people that cry when I ask serious journalistic questions, you don't want solutions, you want fantasies. It's a cosplay movement. You want to put on hats and shirts and hang out with your friends and pretend like you're doing something. And then you end up locked in your house and Donald Trump's on television with Fauci selling COVID shots and you can't figure out why. He got fooled, you got fooled. He didn't get fooled, you got fooled. Oh no, Anomaly, you knew, but Vivek and Trump didn't know. You're so smart, Anomaly, with a calculator in third grade math, but a pharmaceutical CEO that seems like he has a genius level IQ, and Donald Trump, who's one of the most successful businessmen in modern history, he couldn't figure out the data that a construction worker in Kansas could figure out and I could figure out. But they're not smart enough to figure it out with their team and billion-dollar groups of, Trump's got hundreds of people working for him. You are a fool if you think they're fools. They didn't care at the time because their business wasn't in caring. If you cared about what I cared about in 2020, Vivek would have lost a lot of money from a business perspective. I understand it. If you're a pharmaceutical CEO and you took an ethical stance, like a complete stance in 2020 against what was going on with the tyranny and a complete stance against the data and the testing and the vaccines that were going to roll out, you were going to lose a lot of money, So it's not like they didn't know their business was pharmaceuticals. I mean, in 2018, like I showed, he's doing Chinese pharmaceutical deals. And I'm not saying that necessarily disqualifies you. Go get that China money. All I'm saying is there's a reason why. And you don't think that it hurt and helped me in some ways? In some ways it helped me because people realized that I was the real deal. And I kind of was one of the only ones saying certain things. But in many ways, they took, I'm going to say, upwards of 6 figures from me based on just censorship of certain videos and certain, I had so many subscriptions coming in, demonetized, banned, $10,000, $20,000 just disappeared. And now all of a sudden, when you're in a business and you're crushing, and they just tank an entire part of your industry. Do you know how many times I've had to switch what I'm doing because they just suck the bottom out of what I'm doing, which is what they're trying to do today? So long story short, you believe that Vivek got fooled in 2020 and 2021 and 2022. You believe that Donald Trump got fooled in 2020, 2021 and 2022. I think that you're a fool. That's what I think. I think you're a fool for thinking they got fooled. And I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying a pharmaceutical CEO is not going to oftentimes stick their neck out and make a decisive opinion about the data when it's going to affect billions of dollars of sales. And a president that literally hired the big pharma swamp that's responsible for Operation Warp Speed isn't going to be the quickest one to admit it because he's the one that did it. So it's going to look bad on him if he says it. So I don't think it's this massive thing that I understood that they did. And it's just, I think I cared. And personally, I want somebody that cared when it actually mattered, not after the fact when it's safe to do. If you were Joseph Ladapo, the Surgeon General of Florida, it wasn't safe for him to go to the steps of Washington, but he still did it because he was protesting the lockdown. It wasn't safe for Peter McCullough to say what he said. It wasn't safe for Dr. Malone to say what he said. It wasn't safe for Elon Musk to say what he said in May of 2020. I'm not saying I'd vote for Elon, but I respect people who are really coming out strong when it wasn't profitable and when it wasn't safe to do. That's my opinion as a voter. So just to make long story short, I respect him. I appreciate him. I think he's got brass balls to come on the show. And I think he's got a highly intelligent team. I think he's going to do really well in Republican politics. I mean, if Ted Cruz can make it in Republican politics, Vivek is going to be a star. I hope that he becomes a bulldog in the movement for things that are ethical and good. And, I pray that it goes in that direction, but I'm super thrilled with how the interview came out. I think given the time done that I asked all the questions I could ask, and my personal opinion has not really shifted. I'm not negative. I'm not hateful. I appreciate their team in many ways, but no, I wasn't the first answer. I feel like he's a great talker. He knows how to talk in circles. He knows how to say this and this. And, it's like I've listened to enough interviews to see how he handles it in other situations. On Candace's show, he said it was satirical and airlifted when they talked about his quote. When I said that I read the chapter, now he couldn't say that because I knew that that's not really what it was. So it's I couldn't get a direct answer all the time. I get it. He's a politician. He's running to be president. I think he's talented. I think he'll do well. I appreciate his team. I'm glad he came on, but no, my opinion's not changed. I mean, it's pretty much what I thought it would be. And my quickness, my bluntness, and my rushingness, I only had 20 minutes to do what probably could have been an hour and a half interview. And I think I did a great job considering the time restraints to get through 8 questions instead of just 1 or 2. Because if I was to debate them on the first one, it's already halfway over and we didn't even get to question number 2. So appreciate him. I'm grateful. I think it was a win-win overall for both sides. But yeah, I won't say that anything has really convinced me otherwise. I think that, actions speak louder than words, and I'm interested. Only the future will tell who he really is, and I wish him luck. You know what I'm saying? Only time will tell, and I pray that he's does well. And I'm just going to say this before I talk about the media smears. I don't see politics as a fantasy sports ball game where I'm the fan and they're the star and I just have to sit and go like a seal. That's most people with Trump. They're like like seal. You're like, dude, why are you acting like a seal? I don't see that as that. I think my interview is important. I think your perception is important. Vivek, Trump, DeSantis, all these people, they're dealing with so much pressure. The same way you see the ADL putting pressure on Elon, they have 20 different lobbyist group putting pressure on them. They got the press putting pressure on them. They have advisors putting pressure on them. They have the other side putting pressure on them. So they oftentimes just go the easiest route, the route that's easier, which is like, all right, well, I got to please some of these people so they leave me alone. And when your base is like a doormat, which I think that the conservative movement has turned into like a doormat, MAGA mat, Trump doesn't feel the need to please you as much as he does his donors, the lobbyists, et cetera. And that goes with DeSantis, any of them, because Trump looks at the MAGA base like, dude, I could do anything. And these people will pretty much fall for it. So you're taking yourself out of the power equation. You don't exist. Your opinion is just like a rally. It's not a real thing. So I think when the conservative movement stands strong and challenges these people, that's when your vote is more serious. They're spending billions of dollars to try to get your support. It's a massive economy to change your mind. The perception that you have is a multi-billion, if not multi-trillion-dollar economy to shift your perception. So they're trying to do that at every turn. You have to understand standing strong and keeping Vivek, Trump, DeSantis, and all of these losers, I'm not saying they're all losers, but a lot of them are in politics, keeping them to the same standards is not a bad thing. It's all you have. Your vote is one thing, but your vote doesn't really matter that much because both parties are controlled and Trump's entire administration got swallowed up. Your vote doesn't matter. The true quote unquote stolen election is 2016 because you voted for the outsider populists and you got a lockdown with vaccine sales. But Trump doesn't talk about that because he's like the Pied Piper running in circles. So you get what I'm saying? If your idea of an opposition movement is Donald Trump, the father of the vaccine who hired the swamp, and a pharmaceutical CEO that popped up out of nowhere, you are controlled opposition. You are a joke. The elites are looking at you like, ha, 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 ha. Look at these imbeciles. Ha, 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 ha. That's why we rule over them. Ha, 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 ha. These people are weak and wearing funny MAGA hats and they don't even care. They're laughing at you as they should. Have a spine, grow some balls, and show people, whether it's Trump, Vivek, DeSantis, Biden, all these people, show them that you actually aren't a doormat. You get what I'm saying? That's how I see politics. I don't think that Trump is a victim to 2020 in November. I think that his mistakes from March till November led to the demise of the entire country. And the fact that nobody cares about it is why it's probably going to happen again in a different format because nobody gets the game that's being played. You understand? So that's my perception of politics. I understand why what I'm saying is unpopular. It's because most people are cosplaying with politics. They've watched too many Marvel movies where they think it's a Marvel movie. I like RFK, but of course I don't trust him. And I've seen enough to realize he'll be controlled also. I like DeSantis in some ways, but I don't trust DeSantis. I don't think he's not going to be controlled. I like Vivek, but I obviously don't trust everything he said. That's why I did an interview with him. I liked to an element of some things with Trump, but of course I don't trust him. Look how he governed the first time and look who he caved to. So it's like, I see politics for what it really is. And everybody else, I'm not going to say everybody, but a large portion of people, they think they're watching a Marvel movie. It's like pathetic. They're just like sitting there with their popcorn, acting like the American political system is their family member at a barbecue. Like a politician's your family member, your best friend, or it's Batman, or it's a sports ball team that you just have to slobber over and punch your head against the wall against the other side. That's not what it really is. Someone asked, who do I trust? Are you listening? Like, this is what happens. And I'm not trying to be rude. This is what happens when people cosplay fantasy sports ball politics. They start like sweating. They're like, what do you mean they're not Batman? Who do you trust? I mean, I'm a fan. I watch Marvel movies. That's my Marvel hero. It's politics. Grow up. It's like saying Pfizer's your best friend. Oh, well, they're capitalist anomaly. They made a lot of money. What are you, jealous of the Pfizer CEO? What are you, jealous of Moderna? Oh, yeah, I'm so jealous. I don't want money. I'm not asking for that. But if I critique Pfizer for some of the unethical things they did, I'm not jealous. It's just, that's what journalism's supposed to do, unless that's not what you want. Maybe you guys just want a fake movie, So as long as American people are so dumbed down and so weakened to think that Trump, Vivek, RFK, are like their heroes and saviors, that they just need to like sit there and root them on like a sports team, it's embarrassing. And you know what? I'll confidently say, I think I gave one of the best interviews of the year. And even if I messed up to any extent, it would still, it's going to show where the number 2 is, and it's far below me. And I'm not bragging about that. It's just, that's how pathetic so many other people are with their interviews and stuff. It's like, they're not doing real journalism. It's like, hey, you're my best friend. And it's like, okay. Someone said I'm not anti-pharmaceuticals. I know the history of pharmaceuticals. You know how many kids they're trying to give ADD medicine to? They're jacking your kids up on all these sort of pharmaceuticals. Every single television station you watch, hey, do you have skin that has a problem? Well, I wonder why the skin's a problem. Is there anything else going on in this world? No. Take a pharmaceutical, take a vaccine, take a flu vaccine, take a COVID shot, take a booster, take another pharmaceutical. The side effects are bleeding liver, but we don't have a liability for the side effects on vaccines. But for this, we do. Your head could fall out, your brain could die. Take this pill. Oh, Anomaly, you just hate pharmaceuticals, huh? Oh, Anomaly, what do you hate? Do you hate obesity because people are fat now? You just hate everybody? It's like, no, the country is being absolutely bamboozled by the pharmaceutical industry on 15 different levels, and people don't care because it's like, sports ball, I like Trump. It's my whole personality now. I don't care about nothing, not my kids, not my family, not my food. I don't care about my air. I certainly don't care about myself. I mean, I can't even get out of my couch, but I watch Donald Trump and Vivek, and they're my friends, and anybody. It's not nihilism, it's reality. I take care of myself. My life's good. I'm not a nihilist at all. It's the reality of what's happening to our country. If you say the border's open, is that nihilism? Hey guys, the border's wide open. Joe Biden is letting millions of people through the border. Oh, you're just a nihilist. That's not it is happening. I'm not telling you to freak out about it every day, but that's happening. Either you admit that's happening and say, hey, look, the border's open, or you fantasy cosplay, which is what the Republican Party's turned into. I'm just going to pretend like it's not happening and I'm going to be an optimist. Then be an optimist, but it's still happening. Doesn't mean you got to cry about it, but I'm just saying, it's like me identifying what the pharmaceutical industry is and did to us in 2020 is not nihilism, it's reality. What you're doing is fantasy Comic-Con cosplay. You are a cosplay movement. You are like people that dress up as Han Solo and go to Comic-Con and tell everyone they're Han Solo. They're not, but it's fun to just dress up and play games. But you're doing it with American politics, thinking you're some sort of hero because you're too cowardly to face the reality of what the two-party system actually is and what the pharmaceutical industry actually is. I don't hate every pill. The same way they say I'm anti-Semitic and smear me, are you going to call me anti-pharmetic? I'm anti-pharmetic now because every pill and every vaccine is not my best friend. So I must be anti-pharmetic, right? I must hate everybody all the time. It's like, it's the same games that they play all the time. It's such a joke. So, I'm not personally, this is what I'm going to say before I really move on. I don't think America's the victim. I think you deserve Joe Biden. I think you deserve Trump versus Biden. I think you deserve scams like lockdowns. Like, I don't think it's good. I don't agree with them. I fought them. But if the American people are this pathetic, you deserve it. You're not a victim. You're not a victim to Joe Biden. You're not a victim to Anthony Fauci. You deserve it. You want it. You cosplay. You like to fantasy dress up. You want this. Don't play the victim when it happens. How did this happen? Because you're not paying attention. And it's not just the left. So, I don't want these people. I certainly don't want Joe Biden to win again. But I don't think this country deserves better. And I'm trying to hype people up because it's like, if you look at America, everybody just wants things. Like, I want Joe Biden out of there, but are you willing to do the work to figure out how he really got in? Are you really figuring out how to do the work that 4 years of Donald Trump ended in a lockdown and vaccine sales? Are you willing to do the work? If you're not willing to do the work, if you're not willing to stand up and say the truth, then you don't deserve it. You want it. I want to be stronger, but I didn't work out, so I don't deserve it. I want $1 billion in my bank account. Not really, but if I did want that and it's not there, I'm not a victim. I didn't work for it. You can't just want things. I want Trump to be out of office. I want Biden to be out of office. I want a free country. I want pharmacy to stop scamming us. But if someone points out that they're scamming us, I'm going to call them a nihilist. It's like everybody wants everything in America. And that's why this country's falling apart, because people don't even want to take care of their own families and their own stuff. If you want to fight the liberal agenda and you have kids, pay attention when you send them to a Democratic school and they come back and hate you and don't agree with all your views. You're sending them to an indoctrination propaganda camp. And it's like watching Tucker Carlson's not going to fix that. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like everybody wants everything, but they're not willing to analyze it, look at it, and figure out how to fix it. So that's why I feel like the right, although there's a lot of great policies, it's become like a fantasy Comic-Con cosplay movement where it's like, let's close our ears and eyes when our party does stuff and our guy does stuff, and let's just worship the father of the vaccine and a pharmaceutical CEO, and let's cry when anybody asks real questions because I want to believe in it like I believe in Brett Favre on Sunday. It's like, okay, you can do that, but I don't agree. I don't have to agree. And that's my stance. And honestly, I think that I'm gonna really wrap this up now. I think Vivek will do well in Republican politics. Look at his competition. They're pathetic. I appreciate him for coming on. I have more respect for him than other candidates who hide in the corners. And I have no doubt that he'll do well in Republican politics. The question is, will anything get done? And the answer will probably be no. If the base is this weak and pathetic, why would it get done? There's no demand for it. People just want a hero. They don't really want results. So, it's all good, but that's my position. That's why I made my channel. Someone said, who are you voting for? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Ron DeSantis wins. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump wins. And it doesn't matter if Vivek wins. And it doesn't even matter if Biden wins. You might get oppressed a little bit more, but it doesn't matter if you think it matters so much. Grow up. It's like talking to a 5-year-old. I'm not trying to be rude, but this is why I took a break. It's like telling a 5-year-old that the tooth fairy doesn't exist and they start crying. I wanted to believe. That's like telling an adult that a politician isn't their hero. But I want to live vicariously through Trump. It makes me feel good because I'm too weak to do anything for my own. I want to believe. It's like, dude, I'd rather talk to a 6-year-old and tell them that Santa Claus isn't real. They'll handle it better than most Republicans and Democrats, telling them Trump's not your villain. What do you mean he's not my villain? My whole world revolves around him being the villain. Okay, he's not your hero. Who do I vote for then? Who do I vote for? What purpose do I have in this world if I don't put pom-poms in daddy's hands and run in circles cheering for pharmaceutical people? It's like, it's so pathetic. I'd rather talk to a kid and be like, hey, sorry, Santa Claus is not real. They'll cry for 5 minutes and they'll get over it. You tell that to a Democrat or a Republican and they like cry for freaking 5 years and put on funny hats. It's so weird. I don't even care. Honestly, at this point between Trump, Vivek, and DeSantis, my vote is like bouncing around because it's like every time I start to like somebody more, their campaign does something stupid to me or they prove that they're just as sold out as the other. And it's like, I don't even really care anymore. I'm at the point that for the Republican primary, we'll see how I feel. Who do I suggest? I suggest you grow up and stop begging for like help. Vote for the candidate you think is the best. Okay. Vote for the candidate you think is the best. Hope they win. And then once they win or lose, pay attention. Stop being such a fan. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like Donald Trump hires the swamp, but it's not his fault. So it just keeps it's like because his base is like subservient. They're like, oh, when you're on stage with Fauci, it's a secret code. The elites are laughing at you like, look at these dummies, dude. You just give them a Trump or a Bush and they'll be subservient for 8 years. And then you give the left an Obama, and they'll get fooled for 8 years. It's like they're just throwing characters out at you. And you're like, you're like a dog, like running back and forth between the characters. Like that's not the solution. The solution is whatever you think, it's probably the opposite. But anyway, all right, so I want to get to the media smears real quick, and I want to do other stuff and not really ever have to talk about that stuff because it's so annoying and repetitive. But in general, I want to talk about some of the media smears that happen afterwards because at the end of the day, I knew some people were going to like the way I did the interview. I knew some people weren't, but in general, I think when you're faced with tough questions and a tough interview, it's iron sharpens iron. It shows how strong you are. Like, I think that Vivek did make some good points on certain things, but the media came out, and it wasn't left-wing media. I want to show people this because every time they do this to me, they're just proving certain things that I've said right, and it's just showcasing to you how this country really works, okay? So while I have your attention, I really want you to pay attention, because this is a topic I wasn't trying to talk about today, but I'm going to talk about, because every time they try to smear me over it, I'm going to spread it further and further and further in the sense of telling the truth about it and telling people how this country operates and how there's a bipartisan smear attack anytime you're not controllable. So thank you for escalating this conversation, which wasn't going to be escalated. That is what I'm going to do every single time they try to smear me. So after the interview comes out, some psychopath writes an article and it says, Vivek goes on anti-Semitic YouTube channel. And it was written by the Free Beacon. And that's supposed to be a conservative outlet, guys. So when Ben Shapiro tells you the ADL is a left-wing organization, it's only the left, it's only the left. It's not only the left. Yes, the ADL is a Jewish organization that has a progressive left-wing skew, and they're doing a disservice to this country and a lot of people. I agree with that. But Ben will try to make you think only the left does that. Only the left uses the word anti-Semitic to smear people. Only the left is going after Elon Musk. It's not true. Free Beacon is supposed to be a conservative outlet, and they're coming after me, doing the same thing they're doing to Elon Musk and doing it to me, and basically taking everything I've said out of context, showing nothing good, nothing positive, and just saying that I'm anti-Semitic and trying to brand me that way to ruin my business, defame me, and make people think I'm crazy and hateful when I'm the exact opposite. And the crazy part is that interview didn't even, they wrote in a small line, it was like, the interview didn't even mention Jewish people or Israel. It's like, yeah, so why are you bringing it up now? It's a total organized, and I think like they must have had it maybe rewritten or pre-written or something, because it came out exactly afterwards, and they're trying to frame it as like anti-Semitic. We didn't even talk about Israel. The entire conversation has to do with the pharmaceutical industry, Vivek, his controversies, like has nothing to do with that, and they make it about that. And in turn, making it about that, now they're spreading the message further and further and further. And everyone needs to know how the media operates. They do this on the left wing. They do this on the right wing. They do it to Elon Musk. They do it to me. They do it to anybody. They do it to Donald Trump when he sits and has a dinner with somebody. They do it to this person. They've been doing it to me behind the scenes for years, okay? For years before they had any sort of thing that they could do. They've been telling people behind the scenes, don't talk to Anomaly, don't give Anomaly a job, don't do this, don't do that. And now every time I get an actual interview with somebody higher profile, and I've worked my ass off to do it independently, they come out with these vicious hit pieces trying to act like I hate everybody of a certain country or religion when it's not true. It's super ridiculous. I've talked to about it. I don't want to even give it that much attention, but what I do want to give attention is to this is real. And every time they say it about me, I'm going to project it out to the world. So it's like, if you don't want me to talk about it that much, I have better things to do. I don't feel like I'm a victim. I don't hate anybody. The Israel-Palestine thing is not my topic. I even barely ever talk about. If Israel thinks they have the right to exist, I think that's completely fine. I'm not God. I don't run the world. That's between them and Palestine to figure out. I'm not like a freaking dictator where I make the rules. I'm not the Balfour Declaration, which gave the land to Lord Rothschild in the 1920s. That's above my pay grade. So it's not even a topic I talk about that often. But every time they talk about me in the press and try to smear me as an anti-Semite and ruin my name, ruin my personal name, ruin my business, ruin my brand, ruin my YouTube, I'm just going to project this message to the masses, and it's going to backfire. This happens all over the place. It's one of the most vicious smear attacks that they do. They never stop. They just constantly come after me every single time I get an opportunity. And it's embarrassing. It's pathetic. And it's bipartisan. It is not just the left wing. It is not just the Anti-Defamation League. It's a lot of people. And I want to go over real quick some of the things that they talk about out of context, because I'm just going to keep projecting that information. Every time they tell me that I'm that, which I'm not, every time they try to act people, I'm just going to make that message go further and further and further and further and further, when I didn't even plan to talk about it, because it's not even like a top 20 thing in my mind all the time. But in general, they always talk about, he said dual loyalty. That's anti-Semitic. That's anti-Semitic, dual loyalty. First of all, let me make myself clear. I've never said that every person of a certain race, religion, or country has dual loyalty. I don't believe that. There's millions of people in America that don't have dual loyalty, and there's people in America from multiple different countries that I believe are loyal to two different countries. It's just, there's a lot of Mexicans that wave Mexican flags. There's a lot of Israelis that put the Israeli flag before the American flag. There's a lot of Palestinians that like Palestine more than they like America. And there's some Italians that like Italy more than America. I'm not saying you can't be that way. I don't even care. But if you're going to call me a hate monger and anti-Semite for talking about it, you're a liar. You're a smear merchant. So long story short, I just want to get into one thing. There was a Twitter stream recently where this woman, her name was Vivian, was complaining about people accusing her of dual loyalty. She was like, oh my gosh, the anti-Semites are calling me dual loyal, whatever. And then this guy, I think his name was like Keith Woods or something, he pointed out, he's like, on your Wikipedia page, it literally says you work for an Israeli intelligence firm called Black Cube. And then she jumped off the chat where it's like, this woman tried to use it as a shield. And I don't even know much about it. I just heard the Twitter chat and read a few stuff about it. But she's out here saying, oh, these anti-Semites, how dare they ever accuse anyone of dual loyalty? And he's like, your Wikipedia page says you work for Israeli intelligence. And she's like, and then it's like, so I'm not saying everyone has it, but like, do you? I don't know. That's what your Wikipedia page says. Talk to Wikipedia. Maybe you want to take that off because that's what people are going to think. But you get what I'm saying? It's like, this is the game that they play. The writer that talked about me, she covers Israel a lot, which is fine. I don't care. If you love Israel, love Israel. If you love America, love America. If you love both, love both. If you don't like either, don't like either. But you can't call me. You can't act like I hate everybody or I'm an anti-Semite for noticing certain things among certain people. Let me give you a certain example when it comes to Israel. In Israel, I read a 2015 Times of Israel article that said that the Knesset, which is their version of Congress in Israel, they don't allow or they don't like dual passports. So if you're a Russian Israeli and you want to serve in their government, they take away and revoke your Russian passport. Now you don't have it anymore. If you're an American Israeli, right, we're this great partnership, right? We're all the same, except we have different rules for each other. If you're an Israeli American and you want to serve in Israel's government, oftentimes you revoke your American passport. They make you delete your American passport to prove that you're loyal to Israel. I don't call Israel anti-American for doing that. But when I notice that, they call me anti-Semitic for noticing that Israel's doing that. And that's what this scumbag journalist did. And every time they write about me this way, I'm just going to tell people about it more and more and more because it's really happening. That's the truth. That's what they do over there. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. I don't think they're anti-America, but they make you delete your passport to a foreign country to serve their country. But in America, if you even think that there's one person that exists in America that might possibly have loyalty to Israel or another country, they call you an anti-Semite every single time, all the time. And usually it's a projection tactic because I have dozens of Jewish friends, and it never even comes up in conversation. They never say it. They never think it. But it's journalists who write about Israel all the time that are the ones that are always like, you're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. Everybody's anti-Semitic. Oh my gosh. Everybody's anti-Semitic. Let me write 15 more articles about a foreign country and then call you an anti-Semite for saying I'm doing it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Stop. You guys are annoying. I don't hate you. I think you have the right to exist in a country. I hope you do. I hope everything goes great. God bless you. I hope the war stops. I hope you enjoy America and any country you ever go to. I don't care. I'm not a victim. I don't feel like you're hurting me. I don't care who owns what. I don't notice patterns anymore because obviously that's racist if you notice patterns or whatever. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like if your neighbors are like 90% a certain race and you're like, hey, my neighbors are 90% a certain race. Like, oh my gosh, that's racist. It's like, no, it's just what it is. I'm not even mad at it. It's like, no, that's racist because you even said it. It's like, but that's obvious. And you know what I'm saying? Like that's the game they're playing with the word anti-Semitic. I've never hated on people. I don't even preach anger or hate. I tell people to love and respect people. I've always said that there's millions of great Jews in the world. I think that most of Israel is amazing. Not everybody. Obviously, there's jerks in every country, but Israelis have nothing to really do with this. Like it's not even like my business. I don't even care what they do. I talk about Zionism in context and in relation to American politics. And I just want to tell you guys real quick how fraudulent and disgraceful that the Free Beacon is. They screenshotted my screenshot where I literally screenshotted the State Department website. It's a website on the State Department. It says defining anti-Semitism. And I literally just screenshotted it. And I said, hey guys, here's a few of the rules on the State Department website. And they said, oh, see, like that was their proof that I'm an anti-Semite. I didn't even say I agree with all the rules. Of course I don't. I don't agree with most of the rules. What I'm saying is it's a slippery slope to expand the definition of something. And then you got politicians like Trump and DeSantis passing this expanded definition of the word into legislation for schools. I'm not asking everyone to say it. I don't agree with it. Can you believe that? How is this journalism? They have a screenshot of me screenshotting the State Department website, just doing a report saying, here's some of the rules on this website. Oh, that's proof you're anti-Semitic. I didn't even say I agree with it. I just said one of the rules says that it's anti-Semitism to say that Jews killed Jesus. My question is, I'm not asking people to run around and say that. I'm not even saying I co-sign it, but I am saying, are you going to outlaw the Bible? If somebody interprets the Bible to say that, are you going to ban the Bible? How far do you go with this? How far can you say that in history one did or no? Are we allowed to say that, white people came to America? Are we allowed to say the border's open? Are we allowed to talk about Ukraine? Like where does this end when they say that it's hate speech to say this? Like what element of that? Because I'm not blaming all people. Why would I? But biblically, a lot of people interpret that. And biblically, a lot of people interpret the Romans. Is there a Roman law that says it's anti-Rometic to say that Romans killed Jesus? It's not. I'm not asking people to say it all the time. I'm wondering where this ends when psychotic journalists smear every single person for even mentioning that these laws exist or these rules exist that the State Department is strongly defining. I find it very odd. I have no problem with China or Chinese people. I don't hate an entire country by any means, but are you allowed to say that China controls parts of America or someone in America? Are you allowed to say that? Or is it anti-Chinetic? Is that anti-Chinetic? Hey guys, you're anti-Chinetic. Hey, this politician might be influenced by Chinese money. Oh, you're anti-Chinetic. You must be anti-China. You must hate everybody. You must be just like World War II. Oh my gosh, you're such a bad person. Oh my gosh, you're anti-China. Wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't that be very bizarre if they did that? Of course it would. It would be very suspicious and very bizarre. Why? It's like, I'm not saying all people. I'm just saying there's got to be someone. No, is there no one in America that has dual loyalty to China? Not one. But if you look at Ben Shapiro's Twitter, he'll tweet out the same stuff that the ADL and these other people say, and then he'll act like it's not happening on our side. It is. I've seen him tweet out the same stuff that says it's anti-Semitism to suggest that anyone has dual loyalty to Israel. It's anti-Semitism. Yeah, I would agree that it would be hateful to say every single person does, but it's certainly not hateful to say that like one person does if you have evidence that they actually do, like someone who on their Wikipedia page, it literally says that they did. Like, is that not, are we not allowed to say that? This is America, and this is the right and the left wing. This topic, I've told you guys for years, you've seen the work I've done. You've seen all the reporting I've done. They're trying to whittle my entire career down and destroy my entire character by calling me an anti-Semite and saying that's all I've ever been. That's all he is. Ignore everything he's ever done. Ignore all the interviews he's done. Ignore the debates. Ignore the dozens of Jewish guests he's had on. Ignore the fact that he just stayed at a Jewish woman's house and with their family and ate dinner with them. And ignore everything that's real. That's who this guy is, because he dares question this. I hope people are paying attention, okay? Because this is what they do. Time and time again in the media, in the press, groups like the ADL, right-wing quote-unquote journalists that spend half their time writing articles about a foreign country, but then if you notice that they're doing it, they say that you're a hate monger and you hate everybody ever. It's really disgraceful. It's really pathetic. And these type of race hustlers are no different than Black Lives Matter, where they're just exploiting race, exploiting religion, exploiting tension, and exploiting definitions for their own benefit. And it backfires. Every person of every race is not good or bad. And sometimes the worst people from groups, they just constantly pry at topics like this and use it to their advantage. And it's so annoying and it's so counterproductive and it doesn't work. And it's just annoying. And someone's crying in the comment section saying, oh, tell the truth anomaly. It's about Vivek and Vivek. And I want to say that if you look at that journalist, they've written a lot of stuff about Vivek. So I believe that I got caught up in a smear campaign against Vivek, and they're just dragging me in it because Vivek said something about cutting funding to Israel. And if you ever say you want to cut aid to Israel, the press is going to hate you. So I guess I'm getting caught up in a media storm that Vivek is under for I don't know what he did in relation to Israel, but they've been just bashing him. So they're just trying to paint Vivek, I believe, as anti-Semitic or whatever, because he wants to cut foreign aid. Because God forbid you ever take money away from like Ukraine, you're anti-Ukrainian. And if you take money away from someone else, they'll say that. But long story short, you can't even have that opinion, whether it's justified or not. They'll just call you an anti-Semite. Long story short, I believe that's why they probably smeared me to make him look bad. But the article is disgraceful. It's all about me. It barely talks about the interview. It barely even mentions Vivek. And it's just annoying, So I'm going to read a few comments real quick, but I'm not going to let it get me down. They're trying to derail the interview that was excellent. They're trying to basically control the narrative of who I am. And this is, it'll be interesting to see how it goes forward, because it's been a year. It's been a year of organizations. I'm not going to say what organizations, because you're not allowed to. It's forbidden. I just want to let you guys know, America, it's not a free country, and you're not allowed to say the truth. So you got to just use you got to just say nothing, because if you say the truth, they try to destroy you. But in general, it's some organizations have been doing this all year to me and trying to brand me. And I don't know when they're going to stop. It's I don't even talk about it 95% of the time. I talked about it this week because the ADL Elon thing, but it's they want me to talk about it so then they could cry victim and then they could write article. It's so weird where it's if you just don't say anything, I don't even talk about it that much. I've had intellectual conversations with people agree and disagree. I just talked to Roseanne, who is proud Jewish, proud American, proud Zionist. And we talked about the smear attempts literally 2 weeks ago and exactly what they do. And people don't even realize, these stupid journalists, I've never said I'm anti-Zionist, because I'm really not. I don't give a shit what people do. If you're Christian and you're a Zionist, knock yourself out. If you're Jewish and you're not a Zionist, knock yourself out. If you're a Jewish rabbi and you're in the streets protesting Israel, you have the American right to do that. There's a bunch of Jews that don't even like Israel more than I don't. It's I don't really give a shit what people think. It's not my forte and it's not my topic. I'm interested in Zionism, lobbying money, and the relationship between Israel and America. Because when it starts infringing on my rights, when it starts affecting my the defamation of myself, that's when it's really annoying. I don't care what they do, but it's if they take money and they pass laws, in America, politicians are passing laws in America, and I talk about it, and now I'm branded an anti-Semite. Isn't that a little weird? And a lot of people doing it are Christians. A lot of the politicians in the Republican Party doing it are Christians. They're not even Jewish. So it's not even me hating them. It's just you get what I'm saying? It's so blown out of proportion. But that's what happens when you notice the speech rules that they're doing. But I'm not even anti-Israel or anti-Zionist. Some people probably will get mad at that statement, but I don't people are who do you condemn? What do you, I'm not, I Israel, Palestine, that's for you guys to figure out. I would say Saudi Arabia, Yemen, I don't really know what's going on. I've heard stories, but unless I went there, I'm not taking a strong Yemeni stance, and I'm not taking a strong Saudi Arabia stance. There's enough conflict in this world. I know more about Ukraine, Russia than I do these ones. I don't care what people do, but if it starts infringing on my American rights, that's when I care. You get what I'm saying? If I now am going to be smeared as a hate monger and they're going to try to defame me and take away my advertisers because I speak the truth about what's going on, that's the point that I start caring, not the existence of Israel and not the fact that people, take lobbying money and not the fact that people like multiple countries. I don't really care. I've met people from hundreds of countries that like their country, but I don't know very many that pass multiple laws, bills. You can't say this, smear articles. That doesn't happen that often. And I believe that self-awareness would do a lot of people a lot of favors. If you had self-awareness and self-accountability, even an ounce of it, then maybe a lot of stuff would go away. Maybe a lot of people's tension would go away. But a lot of people that are race hustlers on all sides, they want the tension, they want the defamation, they want the lies, they want people to be upset, because then they could capitalize off that issue. The same way that race hustlers go around and do $50,000 speeches to, stand up against the hate or whatever. It's do you really want the hate to go away? Or are you trying to purposely try to fuel it in order to capitalize off it? And I'm going to say this, you can't make me hateful. You can't make me angry. You can't make me hate a country. You can't make me hate a religion or a group of people. You can't do it. I know they want me to be hateful so they could point at it and look and be like, oh, look what he really, I don't. You're not going to make me turn against an entire group of people. It's not going to happen. Not before, not after. Never said it then. Never said it now. I talk about donor money, lobbyists. I talk about speech laws. I talk about the relationship of Zionism, the history of Zionism in America. And at what point, are you allowed to take a constitutional stance and be like, all right, I'm not saying it can't exist. I'm just saying, like, if it goes so far that it swallows up our entire foreign policy, and if you talk about it, they say you're a hate monger, that's a problem. It's the same thing they do with the border. It's like, if you want a border, you're not racist. You don't hate Mexicans. Even if you want to curtail immigration to some extent, it doesn't mean you hate people. It just means you think that that's a thing. If you said you wanted to stop immigration, maybe you want, I'm not saying it's for sure, but maybe it's because we have millions of homeless people in this country, and it's not a smart idea to bring millions more people into this country when we can't even take care of the people we have here. So they always jump to the conclusion and say, oh, if you disagree with immigration at all, if you want a border wall, you must hate Mexicans. You must hate all people. It's the same thing that left and right-wing organizations do with anti-Semitism. They pervert the word. They're losing respect. And I just want to say, it's very interesting timing with how they did this, because Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. He bought Twitter, and he said that the ADL immediately attacked advertisers, calling it an anti-Semitic platform. So the word is getting watered down. It's like no one believes it anymore because everyone's an anti-Semite. Everybody's this, everybody's that. I'm on Twitter and I'm watching Stephen Miller, who's a conservative Jewish American. He's fighting with another guy. You're not a real this. You're not a real that. You're anti-Semitic. You hang out with these people. You that. This is what my Twitter's filled with. A bunch of left-wingers, right-wingers. You're anti-Semitic. No, you're anti-Semitic. No, you're anti-Semitic. I'm Jewish. You're not real. Oh my gosh, you can't say that Bernie Sanders is not real, Ben Shapiro. You're an anti-Semite. No, you're an anti-Semite. So it's like, is this what they're trying to do with the word? Are they trying to make nobody care? Because that's what's happening, is nobody's starting to care. And honestly, I don't even care. You're not going to bother me. You're not going to ruin my life. You're not going to ruin my day. You're not going to ruin my great interview. But I will get my voice out there, because that's all I have. All I have is my voice. All I have is who I really am. All I have is all the work I've done. All I have is all the millions of people that know, whether they were in Israel or America or freaking Niger, that I was there standing up with the people when they were facing vaccine mandates when most people weren't. I have my integrity. I have my real character. I'm not going to just let people talk about me and frame the conversation. Luckily, I've got almost, if not over, 1 billion views. I'm already well known. I have millions of followers. People have already seen me. So these smear attacks don't work because I'm well known. But if you're not well known and people don't know who you are, then they do work. So, I'm not really concerned about it. I understand if they keep doing this, which it seems like they're never going to stop, media organizations and activist organizations. It is what it is. It's like, if that's what you want to falsely defame me and brand me as, it's not going to work. It's not going to stick. And it's only going to make more people research what I'm saying, look at my links, look at my videos. And when they watch my videos, they're going to be like, oh, he's super reasonable. Oh, how's he anti-Semitic? He just stayed the house at a Jewish family's house and had a conversation about what you're lying about on their podcast publicly and talked about it for 15 minutes to fully explain what he's talking about. And I want to say this real quick. When it comes to like donor money and Sheldon Adelson, I read a comment and someone said Sheldon Adelson was an awesome guy. He gave a lot of healthcare plans and he was a good boss. I've never said anything negative about him in that way. I'm sure he was an amazing boss. God bless him. Rest in peace. I'm not knocking the guy at all. I'm not saying he wasn't a good businessman or a good person. What I'm saying is he's a mega donor to Republican politics. He spends hundreds of millions of dollars, or he did when he was alive. I'm not saying that's even a bad thing. I'm just saying, if Sheldon Adelson spends hundreds of millions of dollars on Republican politicians, he probably wants something in return, some sort of policy, domestic or foreign. And if you research, you could see that he is in many ways interested in foreign policy. And you could see that he does love Israel. And he says that his kids are going to serve in the Israeli military. So it's not a hateful thing. I'm not saying he can't do it. And I've never said him and his family are a bad guy. I've heard they're great people, the Adelsons. I'm just saying, are you not allowed to talk about George Soros because he donates to Democrats? Don't you notice that that's what they do to you? When you talk about George Soros donating money, they call you an anti-Semite. They call Trump an anti-Semite. They call DeSantis an anti-Semite. And when you talk about right-wing donors and you talk about their relationship and what they want, they call me an anti-Semite for the same thing that they call DeSantis an anti-Semite for. So the word is getting so blasphemed and so embarrassed that nobody even cares anymore, believes it. But I'm just tired. It's like every time I do something, they write this stupid article. They try so hard to pressure me into feeling a certain way, but it is what it is. God bless them. All peace, all love. But I'm not going to allow some loser that's never even met me and spoken to me to define exactly who I am and exactly who I've been for 10, 15 years in my journalism. It's not going to happen. People are not going to believe it. And it's just going to spread more awareness to what I'm saying. And when people see it in full context, they'll understand that I'm not wrong. Israelis know I'm telling the truth. Most American Jews know I'm telling the truth. Most non-Jews know I'm telling the truth. Most people in all countries know I'm telling the truth. Most people know I'm not being hateful at all. It's not true. They're trying to control me because they know that I'm not controllable. They know I don't work for any big corporation. They know that it's crazy that someone from where I came from got an interview this prolific. They're upset that I was able to ask real questions to a presidential candidate that wasn't some stupid controlled op like Trump Biden circle jerk. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to smear my character and pressure people from going on my podcast, pressure advertisers from working with me. Luckily, it's not going to work and I don't care, but that's what they're doing. I'm going to read a few comments and let me see what you guys say. Let me know your thoughts on the interview. Let me know your thoughts on that. And I just wanted to get that out of the way. I don't have to. I could just ignore it, but I don't want to. I don't want to. I was inspired to talk about it. I want to write my own story. And, I appreciate the tens of millions of people who've shared my videos, because when you share my videos, people can see stuff. And I want to say this real quick too. In this day and age, listen, journalism is cool. There's a place for it. I don't hate journalists. But I think if you're a written journalist and all you do is write articles and you just hide behind your computer and you never talk to people in debate, I think you're a coward. And I think that you should be shamed and mocked. And I think that you should show your face. And I think that you should have a debate about what you're saying and not just hide behind your computer. Vivek faced what I was saying. I faced Vivek. You know what I'm saying? I've had debates with dozens of people I don't agree with. I've been on podcasts. I've been questioned. I write articles. I do journalism. I never would have done an article like that. I would never allow that type of, that's not even journalism, but it's questionable if it's even allowed. But in general, like I have a partner with my streamrare.com website. And when he writes stuff that seems a little biased, I tell him two things. I say, and he gets annoyed at me because I'm annoying. But in general, I say, put opinion at the top if it's an opinion, or just like you have to kind of show both sides. Even if you have an opinion, let it out, but you have to balance it with like the other side just to show people what they're saying, even if you don't agree with it. That's how I do written journalism. These people are doing some of the shadiest, skeeziest journalism I've ever seen, and they don't debate. Come on my show. If you say all these things about me, why don't you come on my show? You're allowed. Show your face. Show, saying have a conversation. You publish my name. You're trying to make me look bad and make it sick. Come on my show and say all the stuff you think about what I said to my face. Don't hide behind the computer. Can you do that? Because I would love to explain myself because I'm right. I'm completely right about what I said. It's okay to say things. It's okay to, connect certain dots and make an opinion. It's okay to, if there's like, are you allowed to say BLM is a Democrat organization, or is that a false characterization? Well, it's like, well, not everybody's in it a Democrat. Well, yeah, but most people are. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't make you anti-democrophobe. It's just like that's a pattern you recognize and you speak about it, even if there's no hate in your heart, because that's how our entire world works. And if you disagree, you don't have to agree. You don't have to like it, but to falsely smear me in that way is insane. But every time they do it, I just get stronger and it bothers me less. So it only bothered me for a slight amount. And I sent an email to the journalist to get my actual perspective. So we'll see. Someone said, how many U.S. politicians have dual citizenship with Israel? Well, even that question's anti-Semitic, so I can't answer it because even thinking that in your head is anti-Semitism. You're an anti-Semite, that's anti-Semitic. And anybody who even wonders that question is an anti-Semite, according to most journalists in America and most activist groups, and now the State Department. So you're not free in America to even ask that question. I know you guys want to be free. I know you think the Republicans give you the First Amendment, but it pretty much doesn't exist anymore. So don't even think about that. Okay. So do me a favor. Please don't think about it. Please don't ever talk about it. Please don't ever let it get into your world. Because if you do, they're going to write smear articles about you. They're going to try to ruin your life. They're going to publish your stuff in email blasts and try to smear your character. So don't, how many? That question in itself reminds me of some of the worst atrocities that has ever happened. And I just don't even want to think about it, because that question and thought process alone is one of the most anti-Semitic things that I've ever heard. And it reminds me of Ilhan Omar, and it reminds me of all the worst people that ever happened. And I'm going to freak. No, I'm just kidding. So you get it. Like, that's not a question that I can answer right now. And I honestly don't know the answer. Anyway, Cindy said, Vivek just talked word salad, classic talk in circles, never really answered your questions. Some people saw it that way. Others were impressed. Perception is an interesting thing. I think that a lot of people perceived it a lot of different ways. Let's see. Someone said at least Vivek said he wanted to get rid of immunity from big pharma. That's a great talking point. The question is, will he actually do it? I wonder. Trump's talking about certain stuff now. I'm just curious, will they do it? And here's what I want to say. If Trump or Vivek or DeSantis or God forbid Joe Biden, hopefully not, but you get what I'm saying? If these people get in and they don't do it, ask them to do it. Don't say, well, I like Trump, so I don't care, or I like Vivek, so I don't care. If Vivek says he's going to get rid of big pharma immunity and he gets into a position of power, follow up on it. This is, in weird ways, I like Trump the least now because, and I'm not saying I actually do, but in a weird way, Trump is so like his base obsesses over him. So it's like if Trump doesn't do it, no one cares. But if DeSantis didn't do it, they'd care. If Vivek didn't do it, they'll question it. But when Trump does it, they don't care. It's like care the same way you care about DeSantis with Trump. Care the same. Like Vivek said to me, he's like, I hope you're as critical of DeSantis and Trump as you are of me. Oh, I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of these, like a lot of people Vivek talks to that grill him. Not that way, but in different ways, they're like Trump sycophants, and they do hold Vivek and Trump to different standards. You know what I'm saying? They will say, well, Vivek sold the vaccine, but then Trump sells the vaccine, but it doesn't matter. So it's like, I do see it all the same. It's like when they get in, they say a lot of things. They don't actually do it. They have executive power to give big pharma a bunch of money, but they don't have an executive power to build a wall. I think Republicans try to give you the runaround. So do Democrats. But it's like when Republicans get in, whether it's Vivek, Trump, or DeSantis, if that happens, make sure they do it. Use your power as a base to vocalize to these people when they're not doing something that they have to do it. If not, a politician is often a master manipulator. They're often that guy who could talk in circles. Obama was that guy. In many ways, Trump was that guy in a different way. Biden, I don't know what he is. Bush was that guy. Vivek seems like a guy who could really explain stuff. So that's a skill that does you well in politics, is being able to finesse a situation. Obama used to be like, listen, I'm not going to take your guns, okay? Barack Obama, I'm not going to take your guns, but I'm going to, take some guns, but I'm not going to take some guns. But I'm going to take some assault rifles. No one should own a weapon that the government owns, okay? But I'm not going to take your guns, okay? And, it's like he said both sides of the argument. And then Trump actually was the one who infringed on the Second Amendment. Trump has a thing where he said, sometimes I like to take the guns first and due process second. Like Trump, look that up. Trump really said stuff like that. So it's like, Obama said both sides of the argument. Trump said this side of the argument, but he did the other side of the argument. You get what I'm saying? I don't hate Vivek. I just want people to hold him accountable. And I honestly, I think I tweeted like, I hate Vivek, trying to say to like a DeSantis guy, like, I don't even like Vivek, but DeSantis won't even interview with me. I didn't mean I hate him because I don't hate him. But what I was saying is like Vivek was willing to go on my show, even though he knew I wasn't favorable towards him. And people that I like slightly more won't even come on the show. It's very bizarre. And I'm wondering if those smear pieces were I'm not saying they were part of the DeSantis campaign, but I wonder because a lot of his like surrogates, not a lot of them, but some of them shared the article. So I'm wondering if that was a DeSantis attempt to smear me, which would be insane. Of course, I would never support DeSantis if he did that. I'm not saying he did, but it's like politics is a weird game, folks. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. It's very fake. And you need to get past the words and look at the actions of what they're actually doing. Do not let any Republican, next time they get in power, do not let them George Bush or Donald Trump you. Don't let you get what I'm saying? Make sure if they don't do what they said, they can talk their way out of a paper bag. Well, I'm not doing it because the deep state, it's like, that's the game they're going to play. Yes, it's a tough world, but make sure the base stays firm and be like, no, this is what we believe. This is why we voted for you. Go do it. Go get it done now. To me, if Trump does somehow pull off this election, bro, I don't want to hear it's going to take me 4 years. You're already here 4 years and you had no problem selling vaccines and running around doing 15 days of slow spread. Get the shit done, bro. Come on, use an executive order or something. I mean, build the wall. It's a national security issue. Fill the holes in. Put somebody there. You know what I'm saying? It's a for sure a national security issue. You don't think If China, you know what I'm saying, like put a submarine off our coast and came 10 miles away from our coast, you don't think the military would be right there? So how the hell are they not allowed to build the wall and protect the borders when it's a foreign country and hundreds of people from different foreign countries coming across the border? They have the power to do it. They just don't give a shit because they don't want to look like a bad guy, but they already look like a bad guy because no one likes them anyway. Just do what's right. Protect our country next time they get in. Let me see. I'll read a few more comments. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks to anybody who supports. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens after this week. It was definitely an interesting 24 hours. I hope I raised the bar for other people's interviews too. $5 super chat. I'll definitely read all super chats, whoever does it. Would you not say that Vivek is the best and most transparent candidate in a long time? With what explanations were you happy with? Best and most transparent. I will say this. I think he is the most ambitious candidate we've had in a long time. I think he's willing to do the most interviews we've ever seen. Best, I think he's the best talker. What answers were I not satisfied with? I think he's a very good talker. Like, I think he knows how to sell people on stuff. So to me, he says a lot of the right things. Like, he knows all the talking points. He knows it all. My question is he going to do it or not? So for an example, this is what I'm referencing, and I'm not saying it's the only thing he's ever done. He broke a record for the biggest IPO in biotech history when I think his company was called Axovant, said that they had this really promising, Alzheimer's drug that failed 4 times already. He basically broke a record for hyping up a stock that crashed into the ground. It went to $200 to 35 cents. So my data, Vivek is a very data-driven guy. He's a very smart guy. My data on him is he has a knack for being able to sell something on something that's not what he says it is. Like, that's a skill that he's literally broken IPO records using a skill of promising something that didn't deliver. Or at least maybe he didn't promise it, but he hyped it up and definitely got investors on board. So that's my thing, is like, it's really hard to tell who he'll be in politics because he has a knack for talking and saying the right thing. So what issue do I have? I can't really say I have like an issue. It's just, as a voter, I'm not going to vote for a pharmaceutical CEO who has a knack to say everything right when I'm not sure that I believe it's actually going to happen. But if you want to be fully honest, I keep getting smeared by people that are close to the DeSantis campaign, close to the RFK campaign. So at this point, to be honest, as somebody that is under constant smear attacks now from organizations outside of and inside of politics, I actually don't care. I don't like DeSantis that much. I don't trust him that much. I clearly don't trust Trump. I've told you what I thought about Vivek. RFK is great on big pharma, but he's already caving and he's already hanging around people that don't like me. So as an American citizen, I don't even care anymore. I wouldn't care if Vivek beat Trump. I wouldn't care if DeSantis beat Trump. I wouldn't care if Trump beats both of them. I really don't care. I just hope if Trump wins, people actually try to win the general election and not cry victim. And if Trump wins, I hope that the base actually holds Trump accountable and makes sure he does what he says he's going to do and he is who he says he is. I don't care. At this point, I don't even care if Trump wins. I don't care. I don't care if DeSantis loses by 40 points. I really don't. Because there's people in all these camps that hate me and are trying to ruin my career. So why would I care? Someone said, Tucker fan said, you do great work. I compare you all over the net. You're worthy. Thank you, Tucker fan. I appreciate it. That was a nice comment. What are my thoughts of Robert Kennedy? He's great on big pharma. He's great on a lot of those topics. I love that. I'm not black-pilled. I'm realistic. If you were doing what I did and you had people close to the RFK campaign and the DeSantis campaign and the Trump campaign constantly smearing you, lying about you, defaming you, trying to ruin your business, do you think you would sit there with pom-poms in your hand and say, oh, it's not black-pilled. That's my life. This is what I live. I'm not a fan. I'm not a cheerleader. I'm on the field and they hate me for not being controlled. I'm not worrying. I'm just speaking out loud. I'm not worrying. I'm telling you what's happening. I'm being transparent and letting you know exactly what's literally happening. Am I worrying? I don't care. My life is good. I'm not, it's the price you pay to live the life I've lived. I understand. I've lived a great life. Okay. I've done some things that most people will never get to do that I didn't even plan on doing. It's like I've got connected to people that I grew up on, athletes, musicians, people that I respecting me, the greatest of all time in multiple sports, supporting me, leaving me audio notes. My life is good. I'm doing well. I get to travel, see my family when I want to. I'm not complaining. I'm not worrying. I'm just telling you what's happening because I want to write my own story. I don't want them to write my story. I don't want the media to write my story or journalists to write my story or losers and liars and projection artists to write my story. I'm writing my story. I'm not worrying about it. I'm just telling you that's happening. It's real. You look at politicians like fanboys, and then when I tell you what's really going on, you're like, that's worrying. No, that's really what's happening. You're cosplaying. You're playing a fantasy Comic-Con cosplay world. If I told people, and I did, when I told people before the lockdown, I said, this is going to be, this is going to bring lockdowns to America, mandatory vaccines to America, even bigger speech censorship to America, the erosion of our freedoms in America. I said, life will never be the same, and Trump doesn't have a magic plan to save you till the end of time. That tweet is saved. It's one of the best tweets recently. And, I said that before the lockdown. Do you know how many people said, oh, you're just worrying. Oh, you're just paranoid. Oh, you don't trust the plan. Oh, you're a hater. Oh, you're a black pill. No, I'm smart. I analyze data and I could see things before other people because I'm not an emotional pom-pom wearing fanboy drinking Coors Light because they don't want to drink Bud Light anymore because it's too gay for them or something. I'm not paranoid. I didn't freak out and cry and say, oh my God, the government's going to lock down. Oh, I did what I had to do. I went shopping. I flew to where I wanted to fly. I was secured in a place I wanted to be secured when they locked the country down. Before they locked the country down, I got on a flight and flew to my friend's house in a different state because I wanted to chill and hang out and not be stuck in a city. I flew 5 or 6 or 7 days before the lockdown because I knew they were going to lock down. I had stuff to do. I said, they're going to lock this damn country down. I see it coming. People don't see it coming. I see all the tyranny. I'm going to get my ass to the suburbs and play video games with the homie. And that's what I did. I wasn't paranoid. I just took care of business. Be prepared, not scared. Don't be scared. Be prepared. So everybody always says this to me. Oh, you're just overthinking it. Oh, you're so paranoid. I'm not paranoid. I'm analytical and I could see things before they come. You're not optimistic believing in politicians. That's not optimism. It's like cowardice. You perceive yourself as some white knighting optimist, but you're just really like, I can't face reality, so I just have to lie about it. Cool, then go be a furry. I wouldn't mind it. You know what I'm saying? I sometimes I want to be a furry, not in like a weird sexual way, but I just want to dress up as Mike Wazowski from like Monsters Inc. and be like, all right, man, it's like, it's fun to play dress up. It's fun to like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's Halloween is there for a reason. Kids, they put on a Ninja Turtle outfit and they pretend like they're a Ninja Turtle for a day and eat candy. I get it, but like, I'm an adult now. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about politics. I'm talking about lobbying money. I'm talking about lockdowns. I'm talking about big pharma. I'm not playing Mike Wazowski dress up with my friends. But if you want to do that and consider that optimism, and then when I say the truth about it, I'm black pilled, you could lie to yourself, but it has nothing to do with worrying or being paranoid. I'm telling you what's literally happening to me. And if you don't want to hear it because it hurts you're being worrying. It's like, okay, dude. If you had to vote today, who would you vote for? To be honest, I can't even say DeSantis like I was saying, because part of me thinks that smear that they're doing to me came from them. And I'm not saying it did, but I was saying DeSantis because I think he's better at governing. But DeSantis is such a shill and he's so sold out to a group that you're not allowed to talk about that I don't even know if that would even be good for me or the country, because he is so subservient and he is so, not willing to say certain stuff. I don't even know if I'd be willing to vote for him at this point. I got to assess the situation and figure it out, because, it's one of those things where I believe that they are trying to pass hate speech laws in America. Okay. I believe they're trying to turn America into Canada and Europe, where if you say something LGBTQ, in America, you're a hateful guy. But if you say it in Canada, they could come to your house. If you say it in Europe, you could get a fine. I don't want America to turn into Canada and England. I don't want hate speech laws. I don't want fines. And what people don't realize is it's not just the left doing it. The left would do it if they could, But the Republican Party does the exact same thing when it comes to implementing hate speech in America, and DeSantis and Trump are two perpetrators of it. And I guarantee you RFK wouldn't be any different. And Vivek's getting in trouble because he's saying he wouldn't do it. Who knows if he would? He's saying the right things, but that's why he's getting in trouble. And that's why they wrote the article about me, because anybody who defies that, they freak out about, and the media comes after you. So long story short, that's a big topic to me. It's a very important topic, the First Amendment. And I believe that both parties are failing on it. So it's hard for me to say I want to vote for, DeSantis when I know he's such a fraud in that category. And, I don't want to lose my First Amendment right. And what people don't realize is all these smear attacks that they're coming after me now, they're setting the stage. It's really creepy. Like, say, if they say all these things in certain countries, like, it's no longer just an opinion. It's no longer just a false label. Like, imagine if they could come to your house like they do in certain countries because you question the government. Or imagine if they come to your house in certain countries because you question LGBTQ plus kids. They're trying to do that stuff here with mostly left-wing issues, but the bipartisan issue that they're trying to do it with is anti-Semitism. The same way they exaggerate about anti-LGBTQ and racist and whatever and fascist or whatever they call right-wingers, it's a bipartisan effort to do that same sort of speech policing with the word anti-Semitism. And they won't leave me alone over it. So it's a huge concern of mine, because I don't know what type of president DeSantis would be. And I believe in the First Amendment. I think that the Republican Party is trying hard to pervert that. I know they are. So, they'll say they're not, but they are, and they're doing it slowly. And it always happens with a topic that you like. They don't do it with a topic you don't like, because if they did it with a topic you don't like, then you have to understand that you would notice. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, they need a Ilhan Omar, or they need a Trump to convince you, or a Obama to convince, like, they always do something with somebody that you like or a topic you like, so then you don't notice. Like, how do we start a war and make Republicans agree with it, even though most of them wouldn't agree with it? Oh, we'll give them a Republican named George Bush, and we got to go fight bin Laden in Syria, Libya. What? Why are we in Yemen? Oh, it doesn't matter because we're fighting those dang terrorists. America. That's how they do it. They already did it during the Patriot Act, etc. They brand things that you, well, you're not a patriot if you don't believe in the Patriot Act. And now you got patriotic conservative countries that are giving up gun locks to the feds. I think it's called Liberty Safe or something like that. They're under fire now because they opened up one of their safes. And it's like, why would any conservative want to buy a safe that you're going to give out the key to? You know what I'm saying? That kind of defeats the whole purpose of the safe, unless it's just so robbers or your wife can't get it or something. I don't know. I would think that a safe is so no one could get it, but who wants a safe that they'll give up to somebody? I don't know. The guitologist said you're worse than the QAnon people. Are you talking to me or someone else? I don't understand what you're saying. What are you referring to? I saw someone on Twitter be like, "Oh, Anomaly's a Q-tard." Like, they're trying so hard to spin this interview because it was a good interview. They're like, "Anomaly's a QAnon guy." I'm literally the most outspoken person that believes that that's a complete psyop. Like, and they're calling, and this one goes, "Oh, this is what happens when Vivek interviews a Q guy." I'm not a Q guy. Never been a Q guy. Literally never. Not for one day. Not for 1 second. I've done interviews since 2018 disagreeing with Q. Yet they're calling me a Q guy, and they're trying to call me a groper and an anti-Semite. It's like any label they could stick to me so people don't watch the actual interview has nothing to do with QAnon or Israel or anything. Like, the Vivek interview has nothing to do with that. But they can't just let it live and let people watch it, because God forbid somebody isn't completely controllable. They freak out. It's so pathetic, but whatever. It's just one of those things that people do. I'll read your comment, bro. I got energy today, so I'll read your comment if you actually want to, like, say something. Like, how am I worse than a Q guy? Like, in what way? Someone said you needed at least an hour for the interview. But here's what I'm going to say, though. Vivek's team doesn't owe me anything, so it's all good. They could have gave me 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They gave me 30 minutes. I took 35, 40. I appreciate, they actually tried to give me 25 minutes, but I took like 10 more, whatever, maybe more. It is what it is. I appreciate the 30 minutes they gave me. If they want to come on another time, they can. If not, I don't care. Um, they didn't have to even be there for that time. So I did what I had to do. Would it have been better? An hour? I think so. Would I have been able to like compliment him more and talk about things I agreed with him and talk about policy if it were an hour and a half? Yeah. But they don't owe me anything. It was nice of them to even do 30 minutes. I did what I had to do for that time period. And I could have been a lot nicer and it could have ended on a nicer note if I wasn't rushed. What people don't understand is they were trying to cut me off at 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Like it could have been a nothing interview. I had to really rush. Like they were trying to cut me off 10 minutes before it ended. I'm speeding. Okay. I had no ability to like not. Yeah, and the first, I didn't want to cut Vivek off too, but it's like after I asked the first question, he talks and it's like 10 minutes left. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, either I got to speed through or not. Let me see. Read some comments. Someone said no one will press him like you did. I told people it was going to be the best interview he's done of the year, and I don't care if people agree that it was. I think I set the bar of what could happen, and I wish it could have, in hindsight, if I had more time, I could have structured it differently and came off nicer and stuff. But at the end of the day, I wanted to ask questions that nobody asked, important journalistic questions that nobody asked, and really, test the waters a little bit. So I had to do it in that manner, or else it wouldn't have really flowed that smart. I'm super pumped with how it came out. I'm not mad at it at all. Let's read some comments. Someone said, talk about the ADL ACAB gaslighting. Dude, the ADL is crazy, dude. It's fascinating that they chose this week to like smear me, because everyone is like, the ADL is putting on a clinic of how insane anti-Semitism smears have gotten. They said all cops are bastards. ACAB is like a skinhead thing, but it's like a left-wing, like progressive thing now. Maybe at one point it was a skinhead thing. I have no idea, but like they're trying to say that like any left-winger who says all cops are bastard, which are like progressive Antifa types, they're skinheads or something, or like they're like skinheads. It's like, right. It's bizarre. The ADL is nuts. Someone said sue them. I don't know how easy defamation cases are going, but I don't want to sue. I don't want to get into lawsuits, but they're trying to set the stage to do more stuff. I already see it. They're planting the siege. They're building up. And I know eventually they have already done it, but they're trying to mess with my business. They're trying to establish this is who I am. Because I've talked about 50 different things. I'm a hip hop artist. I'm a news analyst. I've hosted Zionist debates with a guy from Zionist Organization of America, with someone who's critical of them. I've done a lot of things. I mean, I would say 90-something% of my content, I've talked about Trump 100 times. It's like they try to be like, oh, you're a Trump guy. You're a Trump. Like everybody wants to throw a label. It is what it is. But like they want this anti-Semitism label to stick. And I don't want it to stick. But we'll see what happens. I'm not an overly litigious person. I do believe in the First Amendment. I do think that they're going too far. I do think that they're lying hysterically, and journalists have weird protections on this stuff. That's why the media is so insane. But I don't know, like, can you call anyone a racist? Like, these words, like, do they even mean anything anymore outside of what they're trying to get them to mean? Like, can you be like, Trump's a racist, Al Sharpton's a racist, Biden's a racist, my milk is racist, my paper's racist, light's racist, the sun's racist. Like, I guess you could just call anything now, and nothing matters, like they'll say criticizing Soros is anti-Semitic, Ted Cruz is anti-Semitic, DeSantis is anti-Semitic, the left is anti-Semitic, Ilhan Omar is anti-Semitic, the ADL, they're just saying, oh my gosh, Stephen Miller is anti-Semitic because he likes right-wingers. Oh no, you're the anti-Semite. You're not the real one. What do you mean by real, Ben Shapiro? You're an anti-Semite. Oh my, it's like everyone's calling everyone it. Like, does anyone care anymore? They're blaspheming the word and embarrassing it on a major scale. And the ADL is leading the charge to basically just make it look stupid. Like, look at their website. They're like outlawing, they're like numbers or, racist. It's like, what are you even talking about, dude? It's a joke, it's laughable. It's laughable. If that's what they want to do to me, it is what it is. Someone said it's laughable that you think they're coming for you while you should just trust in Jesus Christ. I do trust in Jesus Christ. I'm not I don't care. I'm just saying it's literally happening. Like, do you drive your car to work or no? It's like, I drive my car to work. Do you try to like drive in the lines, or do you just trust Jesus Christ and do a Carrie Underwood and let Jesus take the wheel? Anomaly, you don't understand. Just trust. I trust in Christ, but like when you drive in the lines because Jesus isn't going to take the wheel and you don't want to die. So you drive in the lines. You do things with purpose in your life and you talk about them based on what they're happening. You don't just sit on a couch and say, Jesus, take the wheel. You do things. I'm doing things. You get what I'm saying? I trust Jesus, but I'm also navigating my life. Like, you're not going to hop in your car, drive 60 on the highway and be like, Anomaly, you don't even need to grab the wheel. Jesus will grab the wheel. Carrie Underwood told me in a country song. I don't think she meant it that way. I think she meant it metaphorically. So it's like, I lean on the Lord. I'm fine. I'm just saying, like, do you do anything in this world? Do you ever do anything, or do you just sit there and let Jesus take the wheel? I'm just curious. Like, have you ever had like a conflict in your life? Have you ever dealt with it? Have you paid taxes? You going to pay taxes this year? Or are you going to let Jesus take the wheel? You know, oh, you're doing too many taxes, bro. Let Jesus take the wheel. Maybe he'll pay your tax. Like, you do things in your life. You deal with conflicts. You take care of business. You handle personal issues, and you talk about things on a daily basis. And then you sit in the comment section and act like you're on a cloud in heaven, you know, looking down on little Anomaly that just doesn't understand how things work. Bro, I hope to get even closer to Jesus, and there's always room for improvement. But this idea that me talking about anything is me not trusting in Jesus is ridiculous. But whatever, you know, I hear you. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. Let me know if you do anything today, or Jesus does it for you. Are you going to eat lunch today, or is Jesus going to feed? You're worrying about lunch too much, bro. Just relax with me and be zen. And, you know, maybe you could fast forever and Jesus will feed your stomach. And if you feed yourself, you're just worrying too much, bro. You're just worrying too much. I'm trying to help you, bro. I'm trying to help you. I don't do anything. He does it all for me. He does my taxes. He drives my wheel. I just don't even have a playlist. I just listen to Carrie Underwood on Jesus Take the Wheel. Yeah. Well, you better have a Tesla or something, bro. It better be self-driving. But anyway, maybe you're right. Who knows? You're paralyzed from the neck down. That might be true. That's pretty wild. God bless. I hear you, man. I could get closer to God for sure. I don't know. I'm not even, I guess, disagreeing with you, but do you not want me to talk about anything? You want me to come live and just say nothing? I guess I could just turn this entire thing into a Bible channel. I don't know. I believe that you're paralyzed from the neck down. I'm impressed with your mindset. I'm not mad at you, dude. I don't know what you want me to do here. Thank you, Lisa. Let me see. Someone said, I think you're very intelligent. You ask very good questions. You do your research. So when I speak, don't take what I say bad. I'm 59 and you are in your 20s. One day you will be great. One day you'll be great. Thank you, Lisa. I'm totally not great now. Yeah, I've accomplished nothing. My life's not a success story. Thank you, Lisa. One day I'll be great. Until then, I'm just striving for it. I'll never be great until you say I am. Thanks. One day you'll be great. Right now, you lack maturity when it comes to criticism, too thin skin, but you'll toughen up, I believe. Then we will get the facts that are important to us. Right now, you can be annoying. We have to cut through yourself. Right now, I found you to be the best interviews, especially timed ones. You seem to more able to forget about yourself at these times better. Yeah, one day I'll be great. I'm sure you've lived a really great life that I should just idolize. I'm sure you have. I mean, I'm sure you have a nice family and stuff, but I don't know. It's funny when people say this stuff because I'm pretty like self-aware where it's like there's a lot of ways I can improve. I'm not perfect. But when the audacity to look at somebody and just say like you'll be great one day is pretty wild. It would be like me going to a UFC fighter that's accomplished more than like 99.9% of the sport and be like, you'll be great one day. And it's like, I mean, hopefully they'll be better, but are they not great now? Would you do that to like, I would never go up to like Candace Owens and be like, you'll be great one day, you know, one day you'll be great, or anybody. It's like, you're not great now, but one day you'll be great. I mean, you've done a lot and you've done some great stuff, but it's not great. One day you'll be great. But there's no self-reflection for you, right? Only me. I got you. I don't mind like a good diss or a good like gotcha moment on me. It's like, nah, you're totally right. I did do that. I am annoying. Like I'm not disagreeing with half the stuff you're saying, but it's just like the audacity for you to be like, you're not great. Like, okay. Says who? Says you? Someone said you sound hurt. I'm not hurt. It's just funny. It's like, you're not great. Okay. Oh, are you some sort of like master accomplished journalist, news analyst? Have you done a lot of great stuff where I could like look up to you? You know, the same way when someone starts in basketball, like I want to be like Michael Jordan. Should I want to be like you? Are you great at this? Are you better than me? I'm not mad at it. I just find it funny. Let me read some more comments. Have I read the book by Whitney Webb, One Nation Under Blackmail? No, I haven't. I've seen Whitney Webb's tweets, but I take criticism fine. It's just if it makes sense, I take it well. If it doesn't, it's like if someone looks at me and says, "Oh, you're not great. You'll be great one day." It's like I'm not trying to compare resumes, but I'm pretty sure I've done pretty well. And there's room for improvement, but I guarantee, like whoever said that to me, I don't know what you've done in the space or if you've done anything. It's like if I went to like a accomplished musician and was like, "Hey, you'll be great one day." Like it's just something I would never say to anyone. Like you'll be great one day, unless they're like 15 years old and they're, like you'll be great one day, kid. Keep at it, sport. You'll be great. You'll be great one day. I would never say that to like another grown adult, no matter like there's musicians, there's Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way